Hi everyone, my name is Jane Aimovoa and I am a content creator at Coco Team in Nigeria, Lagos specifically. Firstly, it is a privilege to be a part of the fourth edition of the Euro African Forum, sitting here with great minds to shed light on the topic African fashion as a bespoke cultural experience. Now, I'm going to be introducing our panelists by starting with the lady first, of course. Now, this woman is a creative activist and a social entrepreneur. She is not just a beauty, but a beauty with brains, as she is the founder of Afrique, the fashion brand Afrique, and she has a master's in conflict studies and human rights. Now, Afrique is big on shedding light on the beauty and creativity in Rwanda, and also establishing that business culture where we have respect and mutual understanding for one another. Now, Afrique recently released their first print project, which is the Imigongo print press, and it is actually beautiful, by the way. Now, this was brought to life by the Rwandan artist and a French textile designer. Now, the woman behind all these creativity is no one other than Sylvan Breha. You're welcome, ma.
Thank you so much.
Now,
Thank you for your kind words.
Now, moving on, we have a fashion guru. He lives and breathes fashion. He has been in the fashion industry for over 30 years and counting. He has been a part of the Portugal Fashion Week, London Fashion Week, once an editor at Elle Magazine. He is the creative director at Manifesto Mother. He is the mentor and co-founder of iTextile Green Circle. Now, the list is endless, but in the flesh, he is Paulo Gomez. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, actually, it is a pleasure knowing that the both of you are big on ethical fashion, but you look at it from different angles. While Steven is big on collaboration, showing the creativity and beauty in diversity and versatility by working with artists from Rwanda, French textile designers, and on, and having Paulo, who is big on bridging the gap between the skin and the environment. It is actually even interesting to realize that Manifesto Mother recently joined the fight against the eradication of malaria and dengue in Africa. Now, in order to move straight into the session, I'd love us to shed light on what it is to be an African conscious brand from our own individual perspectives. Sylvan, you
That's
could go first.
that's for me. Yeah. Um, what it is like you're saying, or
To be an
yeah, I mean,
African conscious brand.
I've been working with Afrique. I started Afrique in 2013, so that's 8 years ago, and it's just, I think, a constant learning process. The reason why I started, one of the reasons, was really to keep learning and to see what I could learn from the African continent, from the people in Rwanda that I work with. And it's just been a beautiful ride of learning and expanding my understanding. That's what I can say.
All right, thank you. Paulo?
Like me, it was first of all, it starts with an emotional approach with Africa. I love Africa. As you know, Portugal have a very good relationship with some countries with the same language. So I start
Yeah.
there first of all as a tourist, but after I realized, because I worked on fashion for so many years, and I was trying to help in a way I can to provide for some fashion designers there to reach some goals they have, and so I have the experience to want to share with them. And after in 2010, I started a project. It's more about the smart textiles, so the relationship between the textiles and the clothing with the environment. And so it was the perfect stage for trying to share some experience I have and some experience they have. And after that, I start the Green Circle. So it's about sustainability. And I think Africa, that's, as the rest of the world, but in specifically Africa, because of the waste of the garments, they go there. Everybody's donating pieces of garment
Yeah.
they don't wearing anymore. And so it's a huge problem. And I start trying to help to solving this problem, or to transform a problem in an equation for a solution. So, and I'm still trying to do that. So we have a long way, a long path to go by. But I think, yeah, I'm trying to do my best with them. Yeah.
Thank you. I love the fact that the both of you are actually big on Africa, like wanting to make a difference in Africa. Like it just portrays the theme of the entire conference, which is the getting along part of it, means of cooperation and collaboration between the twin continents. Now, the terms of environmental sustainability and social consciousness are becoming key elements in individual fashion brands. So, how are you able to incorporate this into your own fashion brand? Paulo, you could go first this time.
So I don't have a fashion brand. I work with a lot of several fashion brands in Portugal and some
Yeah,
in Africa as well, with designers and with brands. What I'm doing now for 5 years already. It's this project called Green Circle, and the idea is to show the new textile solutions, a new process, to find
okay.
good ways to produce the garments in a
Yeah, in a
clean
good.
environment solutions. So for Africa, what I have to say, it's because we have so many tools and so many creativity. Then if you apply some knowledge in this area, can be very good for both of us, for Europe and for Africa, for sure. And I'm really concerned about the waste. For me, the waste is a huge problem in the planet. And I think Europe send all the garments there they don't use anymore. And before it was good garments, and now with the fast fashion, it's not so good garments. So it became all. I think 50% of the garments we send there, they go to the landfills, and it's a huge problem for the environment.
Yeah,
And so we have to find solutions together to how we can reuse and recycle. So of course, in Europe and in Portugal, and specifically, we are doing already the recycled fibers and yarns, but they're not doing that. So you have to find solutions with creativity and with all the tools we have to find the good solutions. So I think it's really important. We are living in the really important moment, and I think Africa it's really important for us, for me especially, because I love this continent, and I hope we can
yeah.
together find the good ways. Yeah.
All right. So, Silver and Lesia, how do you incorporate that into your brand?
Well, I think it's all about common sense for me. I have to say, I had a background in conflict studies and human rights, so I was really not. I didn't have a fashion background, and so when I traveled to Rwanda for the first time in 2013, no, this was actually 2011 for my master's. Um, I was just in shock of my own bias. And I learned about the relationships between the West, Europe, and Africa for during my bachelor's, during my master's, and I knew we from Europe had a bias towards Africa. We are looking in a certain way down on Africa, like saying we have the solutions, we know better, we're going to bring them here. And I thought that is wrong. This is not what I believe in. But then I went for myself to Rwanda, and I felt this bias also in my perception. And I said, okay, you know what? It's because we get such a one-sided image from the news, from the NGOs, from our education. So we need a different story. We need to hear different stories. So that's where I started. And like I said, I didn't have any background in fashion, so I just said common sense. I'm gonna treat people based on equality. And actually, that was the same year as the big factory in Bangladesh, Rana Plaza, collapsed, and 1,500 people died during that crash. Making our fashion. And so I wasn't aware so much about that in fashion, but I said, okay, we're gonna be ethical in how we create this fashion. It was, for many years I ran my atelier in Rwanda like that, but it was only, I guess, 6 years later that I also started to incorporate the sustainable aspect. And um, it doesn't make sense for me not to have done it before, but as a small brand, you're like, oh, but everything is already complicated. So how am I gonna do everything right? But actually, in the last 2 years, I managed to also produce organic cotton in Rwanda, sourcing it from Tanzania and producing our own print with Rwandan artists. So now we have also after years of only doing the social part, we now also have the environmental part within our brand.
Mhm.
Does that answer your
Now, when
question?
you were speaking, you mentioned that you Yes, yes, you did. Thank you. When you were speaking, you mentioned that you make use of 100% organic Tanzanian cotton, which means that it is not just 95% or 99, but it is 100%, which means it's high quality. So when you make use of this from Tanzania, how do you give back, or how does Tanzania benefit from you making use of their cotton to make your products? Like, do you sell it in Tanzania or you take it out of the country? How do they benefit from this?
Well, I think how they benefit from this the most is because we work together with a very like two very great cooperatives that are based in Tanzania. So they have they've been there for 20 years. The other one has been there for I think 16 years. They work together with the farmers who have their own land. They guarantee the sale of the cotton. Um, to the farmers. So they buy 100% of everything they make right when they get it. And they train the farmers to improve their quality of the cotton, to how to be more and more sustainable every year, and all these things. So I think and they have a good system for them, good healthcare. There's just um, a lot of support for these farmers, and I think how they benefit from this is because this is just another story that gets out of the continent and another client for their cotton. That's what I would say.
Mhm.
Wow, wow. Wise words from a wise woman. Okay, so now, Paulo, when you were speaking, you spoke of the fact that the manifesto mother taking an interest in the eradication of malaria and all. What would
Yeah.
you say is the connection between Europe and Africa as regards your own angle or perspective?
Yeah. So in the beginning, as I said, I start with an approach, very personal approach, and after I realized, and we have a very good solution here for the mosquito repellent for textiles. So it's something developed in the university in Portugal in Minho. So we did some long sleeves and some garments with this application. And after I give to some schools in Africa, in Uganda, in São Tomé, in Angola, in several countries, and I realized then, in the partnership, we can help the people living better. So we start with that. But after that, I think what the most important thing for me nowadays is because of the planet and the well-being of the planet. So I want to to apply this technology, but with the green solutions in the textile. So for me, the important, I understand Shivan, and I really appreciate their work. But for me, more important than the organic cotton and all the bio-based fibers, it's more important to recycle it and to how we can profit about the waste we are doing year after year. Because after the 90s, as you know, it's 500 plus. We are buying more and more and more, and now we are sending pieces that we don't wear anymore to Africa. And I think it can be a huge solution if you can recycle in a new yarn. If you can help Africa, Europe, and Africa, you can help to produce new fibers with the old garments. So, and if you can apply these solutions like the anti-mosquito repellent or other ones technology in the smart textiles, if you can put together these solutions and you can help the communities to develop new fabrics, to use this waste in new yarns, and we can develop new technologies and new business in the continent, it will be fantastic. Of course, anti-mosquito is good because it's the health of the people there. But I think more important than that, or equally important as that, is if we can put together, our health and the health of the planet.
Wow,
I will react to
wow.
that because um, just
Yeah,
as
go
we
ahead.
have the conversation. But I think you're very right, and I'm really I'm very conscious in shopping myself because I think it starts
Yes.
also with us. What do we buy? Also, and I have that dilemma. What you say, like are we going to
Yeah.
make new products or are we going to recycle? Do we even need new products if we're talking about
Or is
sustainability?
sorry to interrupt you. It's not I agree that we have to produce new products because there are a lot of people living with this industry. What I'm saying
Yeah,
that in the end of the life of the product, we can do a new yarn and to make so
yeah,
it's a circularity. So
I
it's not
I
to stop
totally agree.
buying better. Yes.
No. I think, like I'm just saying, I agree with you on many points, and I think it's very right, and it's a question I ask myself,
Yeah.
and that's why I wanted to react to you, because also I do think about that, and then I also am very practical. And
Yeah.
one thing I believe is that we all have our differences and our different angles, and we all have our purpose to make this world a better place. That's what I believe in. So
Yes.
we can bring our strengths together. On the other hand, and I'm very happy I'm meeting you now, because I hope we will put our strengths together in
Yes,
this
I
way.
hope so too.
I have not found something like this in Rwanda, but maybe with your help we'll find something. And I'm so open to this, absolutely.
Yeah.
But for me, being practical, I started with equal collaboration in the atelier. Now, when I heard like, oh, I cannot do it only in one place, I have to also bring it to the rest of the value chain. So I started with organic cotton, which is now a beautiful, next step. And but it's just, like you also said, we're never done. We have to
Yeah. Yeah.
continue working on it. And I'm so, excited to be in this panel with you and be like, what's next? How can we? One thing that is
Yeah.
great about organic cotton is that and because we did 100% organic cotton, it's easier to recycle, for as far as I know. So it's a very
Yeah.
clean product, and that's
Yeah.
definitely something that is in my roadmap for the future that I want to achieve.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you for your work.
No, no, no. And you know what? Because the best way to recycle the cotton garments out of use, it's with organic cotton. So it's fantastic. We can put together both of the things. The question is, we have to find the right players in Europe or America or wherever to 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 put in place this technology to recycle. Because I was
Exactly.
watching yesterday a video about Ghana. Is incredible because the landfills of the garments they don't use and that Europe send there. It's incredible, and they go to the ocean, so all the fishes, all the environment there, it's really a problem. So
Yeah.
why they don't invest to make this kind of companies and can transform the garments they send there to transform a new yarn, new garments with the designers there and to help to find the solutions together. Instead of just sending clothing, they can help to produce the new yarns and in the hand new fabrics.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because it's
Now,
stupid that we are talking, but in the hand nobody does nothing in the
But
way.
that's the great thing about, this panel. I think, Jane is a
exactly.
force, in showing stories. That's what I feel like. You are more, Paolo, on the research part and the putting that into
Yeah,
practice,
Yeah.
and I'm really from the entrepreneurial place. We just gotta, we gotta do it. We gotta make some money. We gotta sell some product, in the
Exactly.
best possible way. And I'm, for example, talking to, the Rwandan government and seeing how can we find investments, to push for these kind of solutions, not mass production, but sustainable
yeah,
solutions. How can we
sustainable.
invite new, maybe factories from Europe that will want to invest with a machine or something in Rwanda or in other countries where we can
Yeah.
actually recycle those things. That would be amazing. And I hope the people that are watching today, they'll get inspired. But
Yeah.
I really feel like we all have our little thing to do, and together,
Yeah.
we can do amazing things. Really.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
true. I'm
I
pushing.
am.
I'm pushing it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Go
pushing
ahead.
in the same way here. I'm trying
Yeah.
like 3 years. I'm trying to make this project. I give a name Obo, because I want to do like the waste or the waste become the new luxury in a way. Because if you see the people from
Yeah.
fashion, I come from that area, that they want storytellings. You want to buy clothing again like
Yeah.
you buy in the 80s with something special inside the garment, not just the fast fashion. So I think you have everything to be right if you have this approach. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one something you mentioned about storytelling. That is one thing that is very, very peculiar to African fashion, because when you look at the
Yeah.
patterns, the lines, the creativity, you know that they are telling a story. Even I could use Sylvan's Imigongon print dress, like it has a story looking at the lines, the color, the combination, and everything. But one thing that another thing I've been able to pick out from what we have been discussing is the fact that the both of you are super big on zero waste pattern, and the perspective from which you look at it, saying that you like us, Africans and Europe, to come together to be able to looking at the amount of clothes Europe ship over to to Africa and all. But the truth is, not a lot of Africans, and because not a lot of Africans have this understanding on the fact that these clothes, they end up like after they've used it, this sustainability that we are talking about, not a lot of them have it. That's why I'm grateful for this platform, because I hope a lot of people, even if you're big on fashion, you're not big on fashion, I hope they learn a lot in terms of this environmental sustainability and social
Yeah.
consciousness, to be able to pick every word that has been spoken and take a step back, that fashion has grown beyond looking good, but it's now about having that balance, in giving back to the environment, because most of these things we use to produce what we produce is gotten from the
Yeah.
environment. So I would love us to shed light on how or what makes African brands, African fashion, sell in Europe. Because at times, when you see like a Beyonce putting on an Ankara or a fashion, an African print, everybody goes berserk. They're like, wow, Beyonce is putting on Ankara. So my point is, what do you think makes it special? Do you think it's just the fact that Beyonce is putting it on? Because in Nigeria, or for I'll use Nigeria for instance, a lot of people wear Ankara everywhere, and it's not looking like there's someone putting on a one. It's just like normal outfit to us. But once someone out of Africa puts on an African print, it's like wow. So what do you think is the reason for that kind of mindset or joy?
Oh.
I don't know if I can start. So for me, it's like the kind of the call to hers. You know what I mean? Because it's
Mm,
authentic. It's so authentic. You know, it's so genuine. It's so amazing. Because I remember when I started working in fashion in Europe, it was in the 80s. And for Portugal, we came from a dictatorship. So we are kind of like a gray country. We don't know anything. Everything comes from Paris, from New York, from London. And I start everything from the beginning. We don't have ad model agency. We don't have nothing. So this
mm,
process of learning and of knowledge of our culture and what we can do, you know, what we can think, what we are. I think it's the same thing in Africa. It's so genuine. It's so authentic. So the question, as you ask, is how you can use that, you know, to develop brands and to develop. I think that for me, the solution is to work together. I think in Africa, you can just work with fashion designers or work with handcrafts or work with this handmade process more genuine. Is to together in the same table with some help, of course, from new techniques than we develop in Europe because we are more used to that, you know, and share this information and together to find the right way. But it's the authenticity because this continent is so special, you know. It's so everybody knows it's so inspired in a way. But I think the more important is to find the respect of each person there to
yeah,
togetherness because in Europe it's very individual, you know. Each brand is a brand, each designer is a designer, and in Africa you can put in the same table different visions to find very amazing solutions and not just the African prints.
yeah. I think Sylvan can relate to this more, so I'd love to hear what she has to say.
Yeah, I think what got me started also making these beautiful garments in Rwanda, and I started also with the African print, the kitenge is what they call it in Rwanda, and it's because I had this vision of why would we buy a shirt at H&M that was made in Bangladesh that has an
Yeah,
Mexican, print on it, like Aztec print on it. Like, doesn't make sense. There's no authenticity. So I agree a lot with Paolo about the authenticity. I think there's a lot of authenticity in um, in Rwanda, in Africa, because it's not this like commercial product
yeah,
that is put together with all these different things in the most cheap way, right? Like if you buy it
yeah,
at H&M, they try to make it as cheap as possible.
yeah,
Um, but what I realized actually, and I will talk a little bit about the African print and the kitenge, is that I'm from Holland, so there was Flisco, which is a Dutch company, which is, African wax comes from Holland, and they actually, like, I don't know how many years ago, 170 years ago, 180 years ago, they brought it from Indonesia, the batik technique, and they brought it to Holland. In the Europe, people weren't so interested, but apparently in West Africa, people were interested, and so Flisco started working together and this is a very short story, probably, there's many details, but um, with the ladies in West Africa to create these African prints. And of course they were authentic in West Africa, but the Dutch made a company out of it. And a very, very expensive company to high quality, to buy it from them. What happened to me, and I'm going to share this openly, but we were using the prints also from the market as we build our company, and we got sued by Flisco. So actually the story is a little bit more complicated. It looks authentic, but it turns out that, okay, the technique is like brought from or inspired on Indonesia. The patterns were like gotten from West Africa, but it was made in a Dutch company, like commercially. And then what happens in Africa, or at least in Rwanda, a lot of those fabrics come from China or India, like the
Yeah.
factories in China and India copy the prints um, from Flisco, and they sell that for a much lower price in Rwanda. And that's what happened. We bought the fabrics on the local market. Turns out that many were copies of Flisco, and we had to stop with that. So that's where I said, oh, I don't have a business model anymore because I cannot use these fabrics anymore. What can I do? And that's where I actually started to say, like, hey, what could be an actual African print? And that is when we worked with a Rwandan designer. We worked with organic cotton from Tanzania. It was all produced in Rwanda. Like, that could be a real um, African print. And who am I to say that? But like, that was much more authentic, for at least for our production. And something else that is authentic with what we do in our brand, Afrique, is we put the name of the tailor in every garment. So I think that's another thing that I found there, is that people know their tailor. They go to their tailor to have this dress made, so they know exactly who this person is. And I think, if we don't know that actually it's a human being who makes our garments at the other side of the world, then we don't have that respect. But if we know that actually one person is making that dress for you, the name of the tailor will be inside the garment, because Europeans are not all going to Rwanda to meet the tailor, but at least they can see the name and they can find the picture on the website. And I think that makes it also, that's a way of showing that authenticity, of really showing it's a human process.
Yeah,
Wow.
you are so
Wow.
true, Shivan. You are so true, because I'm feeling the same. Because I think it's the most important thing in the sustainability approach is the traceability.
Yeah.
Even
Mm-hmm.
here it's a traceability. So what you say about the fabrics and the prints is so true. So each time I go to Africa and I see these fabrics with prints, and I know that they come from China and they're originally made in Holland. So that's why I'm saying that the most important thing is the self-confidence in Africa. What we have, the most important thing to make is put some self-confidence in the artists there. And this partnership between the artists and the designers there. They have to work together and to find different expressions in artists' ways that are so they come from inner selves. You have such an amazing inspiration continent. So because the traditional thing, it becomes like our fast fashion in a way in the future in Africa.
I
Yeah.
love what you just said. I love what Sylvan said about having the tailor's name on the fabric. That is something that I as an individual would push for it, because it is something that is not done everywhere. Sometimes people just put the brand name, but then there's a tailor that actually puts in effort to bring that beautiful piece to life. So, and then I also love what Paulo said about the authenticity about it. So I would love us to. It brings me to, like, it dawned on me, like, why would we want, or why would we, to people that are listening, why would we say there should be connected through Diaspora Network? Like, what is the importance of being connected through Diaspora Network? Paulo already started the conversation when he spoke about having self confidence, working with different brand designers. I'd love us to shed more light on that. Paulo, you could just continue and then
I'm
go back
sorry,
to
I'm
the
sorry, I
first
was
part.
asking to Shivan. Yeah, when I'm talking about self-confidence, is because I told you that I work with so many African fashion designers, and sometimes they just want to be like European fashion designers. You know what I mean? Of course, it's
Exactly.
important to learn with everything because we have all the history in the fashion world, of, like the States, but more specifically in Europe, you are more like in the fashion world, so many, 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 many decades. So I understand their concern and they want to be more modern, they want to be more West approach. But the self-confidence is really important because even the designers here in Europe, they're inspired so many times in the African culture. And when we go there, they want to be, for example, of course, we don't want to use the African prints all the time, but we have so many, many, many things behind and more than this kind of prints. We have so many solutions in the dyeing process, in the research you can do, in the get together in the communities, because the communities, they work so differently from Europe. You know what I mean? Because it's because Africa is a communion. It's a sharing. They share, and it's a very good relationship with the planet. It's the best place in the world with this relation and this connection with the planet. So I think we have to learn with them.
Wow, wow,
Yeah,
wow. So, Sivan, what?
also what I really see is like it's also a branding um story where, like I said before, it's like the United States has been very good at branding themselves. I'm right now in California, and they've been very good at branding the American dream and how amazing that is. Um, but being here and seeing this country, it's really, and we see it also on the news. It's really not that amazing. And the world has also been branding Africa as a place where we have to go for helping and have to go to, to educate maybe. And one of my most important things with the brand is really to turn that around and to really show like the amazing products that are made there, and the amazing quality and the amazing creativity that you can find. And so we switch that around, and we go to Rwanda, we go to Africa, and we say, like, what can we learn here?
Yeah,
What how can we be educated about things? What are we missing? And I think what you say, Paulo, is a very important part, is like that sense of community that we are totally lacking in the West. Like,
yeah,
if I talk about Holland, the country that I'm from, um,
yeah,
it is our highest values are efficiency and individuality. Like,
yeah, yeah,
we're super efficient. Holland is great
yeah.
in efficiency, but you're lacking the community, you're lacking the sharing, you're lacking the social part. And I think um, we slowly got to realize that those are very important things to learn. And you asked about the diaspora. Um, I don't know if we are good people to answer that question, but I
Yeah.
think I think what we talk about is all about building bridges. I, as a white woman running
Yeah.
a fashion brand based in Africa, it's very controversial. Um, but what I realized for myself is that I can walk away from it and leave it, say, like, I'm not going to do this because I'm a white woman. What am I doing in Africa? But then I said, no, we're not separate islands. We have to build those bridges. We have to work together. We can create beauty together as long as we're doing it in a respectful way. And about those bridges, I think diaspora are great bridges. Those are the people who know about both cultures, both continents. So I wish for many people from the diaspora to do what I'm doing, like come ask me for advice on how I do certain business things. But I encourage everyone to build those bridges and to create beautiful fashion together with the continent for Europe, because absolutely we want that authenticity and we want that collaboration, I believe, and
Wow.
I've seen it.
Wow. Perfect. I'm really gaining a lot, and I know that everyone that will be watching this or that is currently watching it will be gaining a lot and seeing things from different perspectives. And we've been speaking about benefits. We've been speaking about African fashion, the cultural experience, the meeting point. Now, I want to ask, what are some of the challenges that you have faced in your brand growth path? What are some of the challenges that has you've come across that you feel, if these things can be taken away, it would be a lot more easier to achieve certain things?
Hmm.
Steven, you could go first.
Mhm.
Um,
Hmm.
I think for myself, I think, everything is possible. It just takes time. Um, if I think if we can collaborate, and that's also something that we are talking about, that we really learn from the African continent, from Rwanda. It's really about collaboration, bringing minds together. And I think this platform, Euro Africa Forum, is a great place to do that. Is really to
Yeah.
bring more brains together, more people together. And like, I want to be very transparent about what my business is doing, so that Paulo can say, like, okay, that's great, organic cotton, but why don't you do more recycling? And I'm like, yes, let's bring it in. Like, how can we make it happen? Like, if we can do that from more, whether it's shop owners, or, like I said, even we are also producing for other companies, like the atelier that we built in Rwanda over the last 8 years is also ready, and we're doing it already, to produce for other companies that can also use our story or our way of working, because they believe in that same story for their own brands. So we are already working with, actually, the Diáspora brand in Belgium, that will be working with our production facility. So in that way, we can really share all the resources. um, I think that's a challenge. I think the other challenge is just, I want to run this as a business, because I believe that, it's good to go around and to really do trial
Yeah,
and error, and not create something that does not have a customer, that doesn't have an end product. So I believe that's why I started a business and not an NGO, for me. But that's also challenging, because I'm really, like, running a fashion brand is just hard. Like, I think, I'm not sure, we discussed it a little bit, but the fashion industry and the fashion, like, and Paolo, you'll know, like, it's broken. It's a broken system in which we are exploiting a lot of people, in which we are creating so much waste. Like, a lot of the big brands, 30%
yeah,
of what they make ends up in landfill before it's even being sold. Other
yeah.
things are being worn, 3 times before they get thrown away. It's just the system of fashion. And then everyone expects very low prices, because it's a commodity. It's like, oh, I should, buy a bread
Hmm.
for the same amount as that I buy a t-shirt, which is just, the system is broken. So, like, as an indie brand, and as a small company pushing for doing things, ethically and sustainably, it's a challenge. So we need also the support of the customers. And if I would have a much larger audience, then it would be easier for me to sell and to build my company into a profitable and sustainable business in that sense.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree 100% in everything, because first of all, I think it's the collaboration. Second, we can't forget the business it by itself, because the people, they need to live well and better, better and better. We can't forget the planet, as we said. And I think it's the transparency of everything, as Shivan said, because it's so important. And we start learning to be transparent and to share what we are doing and share what we think and which solutions we have. You know what I mean? Because I think it's the most important thing for me. I work in fashion for luxury for 30 years. What I learned in this approach for sustainability is to be more, more open, more, and sharing more with other ones, because just together we can find a solution. So it's not time to be individualist and, just to be focused in our business and forget the rest. So I think Africa, yeah, now, I think more than ever, it's the right stage to together to find solutions. So for me, when I'm in Europe, I'm based in Europe, so I work for European and for the consumers and for this whole uh, problem that we have in the fashion system. But for me, the solution is more like the feeling I have when I go to Africa and share with that people what I'm feeling, what I think about, which solutions we have, with kind of easy solutions sometimes we have and we don't care, and how we can share the things we learn. I think it's a perfect time for that.
Yeah. And I want to, like, I really love that. And I just want to catch on to like that transparency, because I'm pushing very hard to be transparent in my company, but I've also have done a lot of personal growth, because what I want to say is that um, in that transparency, there's also mistakes, right? And I think
Yeah,
what stops us from transparency is because we are not there yet. We are not good enough yet. And what I'm pushing with my brand is saying like, okay, you know, we are now. We used to always do ethical fashion. Now we're adding sustainable. So we're now in organic cotton. Is it perfect?
yeah,
No,
no,
not yet, not by far, right? I and what I, for example, also shared on our website is like, this is our roadmap, this is all the things we still need to do, this is all the things we still want to do. We're not doing them yet,
no,
right? We want to have the circular, we want to have, you know, natural dyes, and we're not doing them. But admitting to your mistakes, which is such a difficult thing in our culture, in our countries, and, you know, like in our world, but that stops us from being transparent. So having confidence that we are already doing our best, and that we can
mm,
share what we're already doing, but also what we're not doing yet, like that would, if people got more confident in sharing their mistakes, or at least knowing that they're doing fine, you know, just where they are, I think that would make the industry much more transparent too, and it would be easier
yeah,
to share what is
yeah,
lacking. Because people, I think, especially in fashion, we are trying to show, wow, this is beautiful, this is amazing.
Exactly.
You know, like you cannot share any
yeah,
controversial thing or anything, because they're like, oh, don't kill your business. But I think, you know, that's the courage that we need in this time,
yeah.
to
You
really
know,
be transparent.
you are so right. I grew up because I'm a psychologist, so I was my formation is in psychology. I'm not in the fashion. I'm not a fashion designer. I was, yeah. So what I learned, and I was so focused when I started my option to fashion, not in psychology, is because the fashion is a very important tool, you know, to shape and to change the way the people are thinking and behaving. You know what I mean?
Mm,
We have it's important the way we are doing the things. Very, very important, because it's, as you know, it's the second biggest pollution actor in the world, the fashion, and in the same, because we always preview what you can do. You can anticipate what we can do. It's a very active player, the fashion people,
mhm.
you know. So it's a shame then we arrive in this moment. Then we are just the bad actors, and we have to come back. When I started, it was like this. When we work with fashion, it was just to storing good stories, you know, to tell good stories, to put people, include the people, you know, to get together. And now you have to come back again.
Yeah.
I I love how we kept speaking of collaboration, 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 and
Mm.
I love how I keep going back to the Imigongon print dress because I personally actually love it, and the fact that it was brought to life through collaboration. And then one thing that Sylvan has pinpointed, that she literally highlighted, was the fact that she's a white woman and seeing the bias and the discrepancy in the mindset that people have. Like, so I want to ask, how are you able to, what are some of the, as a white woman, what are some of the challenges that you face? You are collaborating with one Rwandan artist. I'm just using the Google dress for example. You collaborate with a Rwandan artist, a French textile designer. Like, you have different people from different perspectives, and we both know that a comfortable working environment helps people to be more creative. So, what are some of the challenges that you have faced from that perspective?
I think for me, I've experienced that people don't, you know, people who don't agree with my brand because I'm a white woman, and, you know, maybe I'm making money off of, you know, people in Africa, which, by the way, is not happening. But, you know, like, that's maybe something that people think, or maybe it's like I am, um, as a white woman, trying to make something cool that, you know, because I'm white, it's easier for me to do that, whereas, you know, other people who are wearing, you know, these prints have not been respected in the same way. So there's this inequality, which is just a fact, and that's what the whole reason why I started is because I saw this inequality in our world and how we see each other, and I said that needs to end. So that's the reason why I started. But it's also I'm playing on that very difficult, and we've seen it with Black Lives Matter last year, the whole movement. It's a very, very difficult discussion to have. And so one of the challenges I see is that also people don't say it in my face. They don't come to me and they say, hey, this is wrong what you're doing. I hear it from other people, maybe from the back. And one of the ways that I overcame that challenge, or I'm working on it, is that I hired actually a brand philosopher who's Nigerian, who
Wow.
helped me see all those mistakes, who helped me see all those white biased, privileged things that I wasn't seeing and I wasn't hearing because people weren't telling me. But he knew, and he could show me, hey, you have to be more careful here. You have to be more nuanced here. You have to be more respectful here. Because even though I have all the good will, like, I definitely miss out on things. And that's some of the challenges. And another thing I did to overcome that um, was to work actually again with a Nigerian. So it's nice, Jane, but I think Nigerian. There's a lot of Nigerians in this world also. So that's what I realized. Like everyone,
Millions.
yeah. So we worked with a Nigerian brand agency also, who did all our branding and all our aesthetics. And it's interesting because what we did first was like we worked together with the tailors based on equality. But then one of the feedback I got was like, yeah, you only do the production in Africa, in Rwanda. What about the intellectual part? What about the creative part? And so I said, well, that's a great point. I'm still doing it in Holland. So how can we change that? So that's where we worked with the Rwandan artist for the print. And that's where we worked with a Nigerian agency for the branding. And we'll keep on making sure that we bring as many different people from as many different places together in this brand, because that's what this is really about. And our slogan is, our difference is our power. Our difference is our power. So it's really about bringing together all the different visions. And it doesn't feel nice, and I'm sure people in this conference, like when you are being confronted with places where you have I don't want to say it's racist, but like when you've been biased and when you've been pointed out your white privilege and where you've been missing things, or it doesn't feel good. But that's all it is. After you've realized that you've made a mistake, and I've made a mistake, I'll just be like, okay, so how can I do things differently? How can I do things better? And that's also what I want to invite people to see and to do, because it's not easy, but it's really not that hard. It doesn't feel good for a moment, but then you really like, okay, take a deep breath. You're making a mistake, that's fine. Learn something new and share it with your audience so that they can also learn from your mistake and we can all grow together. So yeah, so definitely big challenges, I have to say, but we can do it.
Wow.
We can do
Fantastic.
it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I could literally like sit with the both of you, and I'm sure everyone that's listening could go on and on, because indeed we are full. Like, the knowledge that's being dispersed is immeasurable, and it can actually not be bought with money. So we've actually spent so much time on the topic, but I would just love us, Paulo and Steven, to just give final words, final comments on African fashion as a bespoke cultural experience from all that we've garnered. I just want to have your final parting words, because that, of course, the ladies first. Start with Sylvan.
Well, I think what we've been saying over and over again, like, we're not separate. We are all together in this world, and I think we all benefit if everyone benefits. So let's go for more and more collaborations, for more and more open conversations, for making mistakes but learning from them, being open and transparent. Because when we know about each other's like issues and challenges, and where we want to go but we're not there yet, we can help each other. And I think that's something that we 100% learn from the African continent.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Paulo, let's have it.
Yeah, it's like Shivan. For me, it's like let be together and let get together and transform the problems in solutions. And for me, I'm in love with Africa all the time. So everything you need from me, I'm there. I'm here for collaborate. all the time.
Well, one unique thing about this entire conversation is the fact that we spoke about the African perspective, the European perspective, and it is not that we are talking about Africa and it is a black person that is talking about it. Like it's for me, from the point of an African, it's actually fulfilling to see people that are not Africans talk about it. So indeed, we've had a fun session. Thank you all for joining us. Have a nice day.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.